Hi everybody. Today I have a spooky Halloween surprise for you. This video will be a quick look at the very obscure Dark Cults published by Dark House in 1983. I will use the free online Vassal engine to demonstrate a partial playthrough of this pretty clever supernatural horror story card game. This is more of an activity than a true board game, but still I feel it could be a worthwhile diversion. I imagine if you want to entertain a youngster with a creepy story, or maybe scare your girlfriend or boyfriend, significant other, whatever, if you're having a cozy night in on Halloween and you're in the mood for something silly and creepy. So ideally, this is a two-player game where the players assume the opposing roles of life and death. There are rules for solitaire play, so you can play it that way too, but it's not as fun. Anyway, life is trying to prolong the soul of the main character, to quote the rules, shelter a man's fragile mind from terrifying or fatal events, while death is trying to cause chaos and to destroy the main character with several various horrors. The game feels like something out of H.P. Lovecraft. Players score points according to which cards they play. There are different types of letter-coded cards, each scored differently according to which side plays them, and there are restrictions on what can be played and when. Only certain cards can follow others, for example. The scoring sheet looks like this. So asymmetrical scoring, which is really cool. You can see how danger cards score 1 point for the life player, but 3 points for the death player. There are multiple card types: atmosphere, character cards, danger, and escape, localities, and threats. Players take turns playing cards, scoring points, all the while narrating, providing personal interpretations, fleshing out the story to freak out and entertain each other. When the character dies in your story, total the points, and the high score wins that round. There can be more than one main character to play through during the course of a complete game, so multiple rounds potentially. The game is supposed to end after the players exhaust all cards in the main draw deck. For this video, though, I think I'll just play both sides for a single round, so you get the idea of how it all works. So if you look at the Vassal interface, we see the crypt windows are simple holding boxes for each player's hand size of 5 story cards. Each player gets 5 cards to start. Life gets the first chance to play a start card. If they don't have one, then death gets an opportunity to start the story. Neither side has one. You have to fish through the deck to draw one to get the game going, and one is taken from the pile and we begin. So normally you're supposed to draw a card before you lay down a story card. The top right of the story cards lists what type of cards may follow the last one played. But the cool thing is your max hand size is always 5. And if you can't play a card after a draw, you take a -3 penalty and only then discard to 5 or less, whatever you choose. However, you can only ever draw up 1 card per turn, so you have to be careful discarding. The black dot cards are the most powerful ones. If you see a black dot, it means the next player must play something direct from their hand without drawing first, or play a paste card or filler card, and they look like this. They'll just say, next, and then, or suddenly. If a paste card is played, you don't get to draw anything, and you don't score any points for using them either. The last weird twist is that it may be advantageous for life to kill off the main character if they have the point lead, just to prevent death from doing it first, since death scores heavy with this play and life gets no reward at all. So we'll begin the game by reading the introduction provided in the rules. It says, Horace Phineas Lovejoy, age 42, lives at 1158 Portland Avenue in a small 4th floor apartment of the rundown old Excelsior apartment house in room 49. Horace is an unemployed desk clerk, has lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota all his life, and most of it in the seedy, disreputable parts. Being single and reclusive in his ways hasn't made him particularly special. His most prominent interests are tea leaf reading and Assyrian poetry. A chronic sufferer of insomnia, he has taken to the habit of nightly walks. And what happens next? Let's find out. So, life is going to play the start card. This is going to score 5 points immediately. So we'll say Horace begins his late night stroll to nowhere in particular. He's just walking to clear his mind, shuffling along the empty streets. In his disturbed mood, it's cold and windy, and it looks like rain. Okay, so now it's Death's turn. They have to lay a card. And so I'm just going to quickly look at what would score the most points. So he's going to go with the Lost Gun. So in our story, it's not long before Horace happens upon a gun. It's just lying there off the sidewalk, half submerged in a rain puddle. He can't believe it. He looks around, can't see anybody else anywhere. He just can't leave it there. So he picks it up and puts it in his pocket. He notices 2 of the bullets have been fired. He starts walking faster now, almost jogging. He doesn't want to be caught holding a potential murder weapon. Okay, so that scores 3 points for death. And then, so life, let's see what they have. Life is going to play the stern police officer for, looks like 2 points. So we'll say the wind picks up as it starts to rain. Horace pulls up his collar and starts walking with his head looking down so the water doesn't blow directly in his face. Suddenly he sees a pair of wet boots directly in his path, and he doesn't hear any footsteps coming. The person's feet just appear. He looks up and sees the stern police officer. The police officer has a pained expression on his face. Something's off with him. He says, not exactly looking at Horace, but looking through him. Have you seen anything suspicious tonight? Something strange is happening. Horace is too startled to even respond. He just backs up a few steps and walks around the police officer, who doesn't even move a muscle. He just remains stationary like a statue, staring off into space as Horace starts to run away. If a crime has been committed, Horace can't be implicated. He's holding a loaded gun. So that's going to score... That was 2 points for life. So now we have to look through death's card. Stern police officer. So life has 7 points now. First card, death flag, is 3. For 2 points, he can play the bad part of town. So we'll say Horace starts running. He reaches the end of the street. He hears a police officer yell, "Are you safe? Are you safe?" Horace knows he's now entered the bad part of town. Okay, so that's going to score 2 for death. So we'll look what life has. Life actually has a couple of really powerful cards here. You can play Whirling Dimensional Passage for a single point, but it can actually set up an end game. If you see the cards that have to follow it. So we'll play the Whirling Dimensional Passage for life. Horace runs down the first street he can find to take himself out of line of sight from the policeman. He hangs a right and finds himself in a dead-end alley lined with overturned garbage cans and newspapers swirling across the ground. He quickly looks around. Suddenly he feels lightheaded. The horizon starts tilting up from the right. The windows on the building start shifting positions like sides of a Rubik's Cube. He has the sensation of falling backwards now. Everything fades to black, and all he sees are stars rushing past his field of vision. He is traveling through some kind of dimensional passage. Okay, so this is going to be a tricky play, final act for the... So this play is actually going to force the hand of death, because the only available card he has that can follow the dimensional passage is his S card. So this is going to be a rather brief nightmare instead of something more involved, I guess. He will have to play an overwhelming but troubled sleep ends the night's adventure. And that's the little vignette you can create with this card game. The final score would be life, 8 points, death, 5 points. But you can see that this little game is actually pretty cool. And I could just see it now. This is going to be a print and play project for me, I think, in the coming weeks. Free to play, anyone can play it, super accessible, creepy, fun. I'm going to probably try and find black and white artwork that I can use to make more cards. And if I can find some interesting content, I'll make another video and show you what I came up with. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Halloween special and hope you have a creepy, fun Halloween night. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more content coming soon.